Hello and welcome back. This is the video number 10 in the Flow Certified Coach training series. Today we're looking at tile number 8, and that's flow and anti-flow. And today we have with us again Jeff Kissinger, one of our FCTs. Welcome back, Jeff. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Thank you. I'm Jeff Kissinger. I'm a Flow certified trainer. I learned from Ted and from Andrew all the wonderful things about flow. And today we're going to talk about flow and anti-flow. Now this is if you want to go to the next slide.
Yep.
The leadership takeaways from this is in this 4-box design, which we're going to see in just a moment. Flow, of course, is going to be remarkable results. That's when you have the right vision plus a strong delivery. And it will vary in degrees of what vision and right delivery. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. Impeded flow, where you have the wrong results, but the right vision with a weak delivery. And there's also impeded flow, wrong results, which is the wrong vision, but a strong delivery. And anti-flow, which is the death march of wrong vision and weak delivery. And I'm going to provide examples that I've experienced with all 4 of these.
Awesome.
And here is the boxes. You'll see on the y-axis, or the where it says vision, and on the x-axis, it is delivery. So the higher up you go Y, you get the higher vision, and the further to the right you go with delivery, you have higher delivery quality. And in the 4-box, you have, of course, individual, organization, team, and product, because you can have this occur at all these different levels. So for instance, if I have my own individual vision and my ability to deliver. I'll give an example just as an individual. I have this supreme vision of being chiseled, yoked, and it's as clear as day, but my delivery is low. Okay. And I get the wrong results. Okay. But I've also had the vision of being able to eat 1.5 pounds of salmon later on today at this barbecue place. And I will deliver on that and I will be flowing. Okay. Just to give you an example of how this works. So if you got high vision, high delivery, you'll be in flow. But let's talk about, reality here. Well, that is reality for me sometimes, but let's talk about examples in this. So as you can see I'm going to start actually in the anti-flow, the death march. This is not where you want to be, obviously. Nobody wants the death march, because if you have low vision and low delivery, you are basically imploding and the world is going dark for you. And I've been in this position. The very first gig I ever had was, I was working in Las Vegas. I was living there and I was flying back and forth to Cupertino, California. And I was a technical writer. The person running this project, and the project was, we were doing training documentation and building a class for what was called net servers at the time. I don't even know if anyone knows what a net server is watching this right now, but this was 1997.
Ooh, ancient technology.
And this thing was big, but it was small compared to what we're used to seeing. And it was an impressive piece of equipment. And I was hired to do technical writing on this. The person running this project was supposed to be the best. He knew the most about net servers anywhere. And my job was to convert all these slides from this old version of software and put it into PowerPoint. It was actually Lotus Notes into PowerPoint. And I basically had to take apart every slide, disintegrate it basically, and rebuild it into PowerPoint. And they gave me over 4,000 of these to do.
Wow.
And I did that. And I was supposed to be writing things, but nothing ever got written. And we were supposed to deliver this alpha of this training. And this is where anti-flow came in. The vision he had was purely wrong, because his vision was to fax 25 pages of pictures as our alpha for this training. I'm not kidding. And I delivered as best I could, but what we ended up delivering was just wrong. There was nothing. And at the end of this, and at the last push I had, I worked 36 hours straight to get this done. I worked with this other guy who brought me into this, and we found out, okay, we just did all this work for this, and this project was doomed, as doomed can be. And the guy who was leading it was definitely not getting the job done. And we were free falling. Then the guy who brought me in, his name's Mike, he just grabbed hold of it and he changed the direction of the whole thing. And he just said, look, throw all this stuff out. We don't need any of this. We need to start over. And the vision he had was very clear. He says, we need to deliver the right training. And the right training is going to show people how to use this equipment, how to tear it apart, how to put it back together again, how to connect it, how to do all these things. We need to have clear instruction, chapter by chapter. We need labs. He started laying it all out for us. And there was two of us, myself and another lady who we work together in our own business, is our technical writing consulting business. And we're going to be working hard, and we're going to be working, passing things back and forth. It's going to be an iterative. He said iterative. And this was 1997. So this is before the Agile Manifesto came out.
Beautiful.
He says, you're going to hand me something. I'm going to take a look. He says, I'm going to hand you something. You're going to work on getting it all cleaned up, hand it back to me, and I'll just keep working. We had multiple chapters working at the same time.
Beautiful.
And we worked out of this guy, not the Mike's house, but the guy who basically owned the contract's house.
Okay.
And it was first his garage in Las Vegas in the summer, and then it was his house later on. Luckily, the garage was air conditioned. But what happened is, with his clear vision, we started to deliver. And it was a gradual process because we had to work out a bunch of kinks. And as it went on, delivery got better and better. So what happened, it started to arc up from low to flow. And the high vision was already very clear. So we were just working our way into it. And we turned out this product with labs, with everything. And we worked a lot of hours. We did a lot of hard work, but we delivered it. And we ended up bringing this to a class in Denver where the whole thing was delivered by Mike as a teacher, and I did all the labs and helped people with it. And it was very successful.
Cool.
But there's times where we were working out of a hotel. There was times, I mean, it was a lot of, the delivery wasn't as a matter of time so much as it was a matter of quality. And our quality kept getting better and better and better, because you can throw bodies at time, but it doesn't always work out if you're not working on the right things, or the people don't know how to do it. And there was times where it just felt like sheer panic because the deadline was looming. So that was my example of anti-flow. But I have worked on things. I gave an example in a previous video where we had a very clear vision for these website updates that we needed to do. We were redoing an entire website. We had a very clear vision, but there was no delivery. Yeah. We spent 3 months getting nowhere, doing Agile, doing Scrum, and until we sat down, redid everything, did a retrospective, figured out where we're at, and started over again. And then the flow started to kick in once the team gelled, where we connected. The vision was already there, and we gradually kept moving up. But we moved up pretty fast. We ended up delivering what we couldn't do in 3 months in 6 weeks.
Cool.
And that started to move toward flow. But having a high vision with weak delivery, that's painful. It's not quite a death march. It just feels worthless. It feels pointless. You know, it seemed like such a great idea, but we're not getting it done, and you start questioning the idea.
Yeah, it's demotivating.
Yes, it's very demotivating. So demotivating that, you know, people wanted to quit. I've been in a situation where we've had the wrong vision but strong delivery. I've been in a bunch of those, actually, because, you know, when you work for a company and they want you to get these things done, they hand it off to you. It's like, get this done, do these things. And I just sit there and crank it out, and let's move, let's get all these things, get a team motivated. You're working on it, and then they change direction on you. And all that stuff you did, all that work you did, nobody cares about. And that is demotivating too. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm getting paid to do this, but everything I just did doesn't seem worth it anymore. And you
Yeah.
basically said everything I worked on, everything I've been doing doesn't matter. I do not connect to the company that way. I don't connect to the culture that way. And I feel like my time is wasted and I'm got no chance of promotion. And I'm not really getting anywhere because you have me working on things that don't matter. And if I'm working on things that don't matter, then I don't seem to matter to you. And if there's ever any trouble with the organization, you got to start making cuts. We're going to start cutting the guy over there who does things that doesn't matter. So that's where that can lead. Now, on a team, working within this, the best thing I can do, I mean, obviously having a clear vision, but getting people to work together, because I don't think you need the entire team to be working perfectly in flow. You just need overall, or just the aggregate quality of the work and the flow to be moving up toward flow. And it does take time. And the bigger the team, the harder it is. If you got a smaller team, you can get a lot of things done, especially if people start to connect and there's a real strong interaction and quality of work between them. So at a team level, moving toward flow, depending on the size of the team, depending on the connection, depending on how well they're doing the work, depending on the leadership, especially in a Scrum team, if the product owner isn't constantly changing their mind about things and they start changing the vision on it, that all those things have an effect on whether or not you make it toward flow. As a product, products that I've worked on, it's important. That's why I think it's so important. If the vision is not clear on it, the delivery is going to be affected, obviously, whether you're delivering the wrong results or no results at all. So I think when doing projects, I gave an example in a previous video of doing a PeopleSoft upgrade on a financials project. And the way it started out is we had a clear vision, and the first sprint was lackluster at best. And the second sprint was, kind of doing the same thing until they discovered something that was wrong. If they would have done it a traditional waterfall way, we would have missed this problem until we were months in and we would have to start over. We discovered it 3 weeks in. But what happened with that, what I think is really good about that is the vision was still clear, but I think it got stronger because the light started to go on. There was that aha moment. And we were able to start back over after 3 weeks, and then we were able to re-engage. And I think what happened is the team gelled more, the product developed quicker, and that made us stronger. And we delivered something that normally took 6 months and a lot more money, and we did it in 3.5 months with a lot less money. And as an organization, and when I say organization, I mean the organization within IT itself, not just the development team, but it helped us. It put more confidence in what we could do, which put more confidence in the delivery abilities and the vision. Now, the problem I've had in working in organizations is sometimes they see it and they go, that's really nice, but they're not willing to change the way they do things. So when you start talking vision with them, when you start showing ways to deliver, it's the toughest part is getting people to let go of things that has worked for them over the years, but it's no longer working for them either as well or at all. But they're still convinced that their way is the way. And that to me, I think is the big mystery for a lot of people. If you're working with people that aren't honest with themselves, they're not open-minded to change and willing to put changes into place, there's always going to be that disconnect. And to get people to change that, I think showing them this graph, this 4-box, I don't know if it will change their mind so much, but it's a way of tracking it. Because I can put a sticky note. I can put this up on a board in a sticky note for each person, or I can keep it as a slide and my own thing where it's private, where I'm just tracking people and who's got individual vision and individual delivery versus the team
Yep.
and product and the organization. And all those things have an effect on the individual, on the team, on the product, on the flow altogether. It's dynamic. It's always in motion. It's not a static thing. I mean, I could that this can change day to day for some people or a product.
Yeah. So basically what you're saying is you shrink the box like this and you
Yes.
do one of these for each one.
Yes. If
So
I wanted to be able to track
yeah.
to see how that goes, but when I'm talking to people, I'm working with people, these things are going through my head, you know,
Yeah,
what's missing. And
absolutely.
then, you know, you're going to hear me say this time and again. I go back to flow friction analysis at this point,
Yep.
and I say, why is somebody stuck? And I go use that. And oftentimes, most people are confused if they're trying, but they're not getting anywhere. They're generally confused, which means there's definition that needs to be clarified, which often means training.
Yeah.
And training people how to do things, and then deciding, you know, distilling agreement on how we're going to move forward.
Yep.
In the examples that I gave, such as the anti-flow example, we did not have the right people. We did not have a clear vision. I mean, everything in the flow friction analysis was in full friction. I mean, we were screwed.
Everything's up in flames.
Yes, it was in flames. We felt on flames, and we were tired, and we were pissed. And I mean, it was bad.
Yeah.
And when this guy stepped up, he was a visionary. He was a strong leader. And he basically, we skipped over the problem. We said, we're not going to deal with this person we've been dealing with. He's done. And he was just another contractor. He just stepped up. He says, this is how we got to get this done. So almost immediately we could see the vision.
Yeah.
And that inspired us to become better at delivering what we got to do. And we knew what we had to do. We knew it was a monotonous task because we had half the time that we originally started with to get this done.
Yep.
I mean, we had wasted our time doing it the first half. It was a waste of time. Everything that we had done at that point got thrown out, gone.
Yeah.
Didn't matter.
When you were sharing what you were sharing, especially on the team, they were 3 weeks in and all of a sudden they had that aha moment.
Mm-hmm.
I had a couple other teams at another client where it took them 3 sprints and we had the vision right up there above the sprint Kanban board. And the product owner looked up at it and underneath the vision, we had the sprint goals. And suddenly they all went together almost in unison. They went, well, wait a second. Everything we have in the backlog isn't helping us achieve the goal. So they stopped what they were doing and they rewrote the backlog right there in the planning session.
Mm-hmm.
And when they did that sprint, it was the first successful sprint that they had.
Yeah.
And so it was very similar to what you shared with your team. And then for the strong delivery, but they weren't really getting the results that they wanted from the business side. The IT technology side, they had been trained by one of the best agile consulting companies in that country. And they were just able to get stuff through the system, no problem. But the business was always complaining, well, what you're delivering, we don't need. and
Yeah.
and even after we did a full analysis of the individual team, product, and organization and showed the picture to the executives, everything that they should have done to change at the leadership vision level, they didn't do. So it wasn't so much wrong vision as it was just an incredibly weak vision.
Mm-hmm.
And so diffuse that nobody understood what is it that we're doing.
Right.
And so that was those are a couple things that popped up in my memory as you were sharing. So
And
this
in your
was
example,
really
Andrew,
good.
if you had to mark the degree of vision for the
Yeah.
product, it would have been on the left-hand side. How far down was it? Was it almost into anti-flow or just somewhere in between um, medium and high for the vision? Right in there. Yeah.
Yeah. It would have been somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So
And
it's not
it's like
like it was
you got
all the way
strong
down
delivery.
at
I
the
mean, they're
bottom.
delivering on something that's they're cranking it out. Like, you want this? We'll give you this. Yeah. Yeah. I'm working on
Yeah.
something right now where um, I'm not in charge of the vision of it.
Okay.
And I've been delivering what has been asked for, but the person doesn't seem to like what's being done. So I was like, tell me what you want. That's what you'll get. And this is exactly what you asked for.
Be careful of what you ask for. You might
Yeah.
get it.
So I know other people have probably been in that position too. It's
I
like,
think we
look,
all have.
and I don't mind. I mean, sometimes in order to affect the vision, if the person doesn't have the vision, I have developed something with my own vision and said here, and I put it out there not to say this is what we need to do. I put it out there to say, I'm going to give you something to compare to, because sometimes I think it's easier for people to criticize and to take a look at something which will actually affect their ability to come up with something better by seeing something first as a prototype, if you will.
It triggers
So,
their thinking. Yeah.
yes, it does, as opposed to having a blank slate and saying, what is it you want? Because oftentimes people are like, I don't know. And so I will purposely take the time to
Yeah.
develop something and just put it out there as a prototype and say, can you use this as a launching pad to figure out where you want to go from here? And that has been an effective tool when we are able to deliver something, but the vision isn't clear.
Yeah. That's a great tactic.
And then you could do kind of the opposite, where if you have a very clear vision, vision's going to inspire delivery if it's very clear, and you can connect people to the vision. If they're like going, yes, this is awesome, I love this, we have no idea how to do it, but I love this idea. And then it's a matter of, okay, let's start small. What can we do?
Yeah.
And because I think people get overwhelmed. One of our I do FCTs or FCTs in training, Robert Heath, has what I think is a great example. If you have to eat an elephant, you don't eat it all at once, you eat it a bite at a time. And I
Exactly.
think a good visionary can show the elephant and also show this is these are the bites we're going to take first.
Yeah.
and
Here's where
and
we're
to show
starting.
and to inspire them enough to where they say, this is going to get eaten over time, and I can prove that this is going to happen, but we need to move forward, and we need to start eating this elephant.
How do you eat the elephant? One spoonful at a time. Love
Exactly.
it.
So but this 4 box has always been a really good tool
Yeah.
to measure where people are at, and it's a good way to identify where people are at. And again, I go back to flow friction analysis to
Yep.
say, how can you diagnose what the problem is, and use other flow tools to remedy that issue? Because
Exactly.
oftentimes flow, I mean, for me, flow has always been, it's in flux. It's inspiration, it's energy, it's the ability to deliver at high efficiency and high capacity. It's all those things, but all of it is like an energy that has to be there. And if there's anything that's affecting that energy into anti-flow, there's tools to get it there. But again, it comes down to the individuals you're dealing with. It comes down to the teams that they form, the products they build, and the organization they're a part of. And there's ways to diagnose and to um, repair those things, but it's going to be up to the people.
Yeah. Exactly. Beautiful.
So to recap, flow versus anti-flow, you can have remarkable results, which when you've got strong vision or the right vision and strong delivery. And there's 2 different kinds of impeded flow where you get wrong results, where they have the right vision and a weak delivery, or the wrong vision and a strong delivery. And of course, there's the death march of anti-flow, where you have the wrong vision and a weak delivery of that.
Yeah.
Nothing worse than that. And this mirrors the flow formula, of course. So vision plus the right people plus the 4D model equals flow. And that's why I bring up the flow friction analysis, because if you have what flow is, you got to know what flow isn't in order to diagnose where the problems are.
Yeah.
And if you have anything else for me, I can talk
This
about
was
this all day
awesome.
sometimes, but this is
Now, this was good examples. It reminded me of very similar situations. And I love it because it's real world application of what we're talking about in the book as sort of theory, it works in the real world. And this is just another example of that. And so I really, really appreciate what you shared today. This was really good. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Andrew.